Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today we're here with Brent Martin of InFocus Brands. Brent, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Hall.
Can you tell us your background of how you got into the job you're currently doing?
Sure. My background kind of varied between this and that. I started out doing a lot of business development work for government contractors and then went into the serial entrepreneurial route. So I worked with a lot of different firms, a lot of different startups as consultants, advisors. And then it led me to InFocus Brands. And I was very curious about what they were doing, kind of their culture and the brand that they were building. So the more and more conversations I had with them, it just seemed like a natural transition for me to roll in with them and to focus on accelerating companies.
So what do you think about the CPG sector and what intrigues you about it?
Yeah, I love products. I've launched my own products in the past. I think there's a lot of interesting things to be done in this space to move products. And I also know that there are a lot of problems that startups face. They go down the wrong path with this. And one of the main things is not having enough data before their product launches and not knowing their consumer behavior. So definitely want to be able to help startups and other companies with this moving forward with their product launches.
And so for those investors who invest in CPG, consumer product goods startups, what's your advice for them as far as what should they be looking for in a potential investment?
I believe they need to look at the team. It has to be a strong team that has a clear roadmap moving forward. Obviously, if they have previous experience in the space and success stories, that's always a bonus. And a viable product. There has to be some beta test run up front. It has to be of interest to the consumers. They've also run focus groups, things of that nature to test the demand of the product.
And so you work with a lot of consumer packaged goods companies and so forth, and there seems like there's some key things that they should be doing to make that business successful. For example, using metrics is an important one. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. At InFocus Brands, we are really heavy on metrics and data. We don't rely on guesswork. You use this data for continuous adjustments moving forward. And this data is pulled from content distribution, messaging, and also engagement rates with social media posts. Well, I have a very good example of a failed launch that I did. I actually launched a patented product, and this was years before I joined InFocus Brands, and we had 90,000 views out the gate for our product launch video. And we were all excited. We thought we were going to kill it in the market and just sell tons and tons of this product, but no sales conversions. So we had a very, very poor launch. And the reasoning behind that is that we didn't analyze enough data on the front end. We didn't know how our consumers were behaving with the product. So when we actually took it to market, yes, we had a ton of views, but it fell flat on its face because we weren't able to identify the ideal customer and have them convert to sales.
Cool. Well, there's a lot of data analytics available now. There's many different sources. Retailers give you data, there's third-party data resources and so forth. It just seems like there's so much more out there. What do you look for in a data resource that feeds into your metrics, and how do you make use of that?
So most of our data collection and systems are done in-house. This is a proprietary system that we've used for decades. We've launched 130 companies and launched 400 products and services. So we use the lessons learned and the systems that we implement for our clients moving forward. So can't really share the secret sauce too much on that.
Sure. So other things that help a startup be successful, for example, sampling and demos and that type of thing, it seems like that's helpful to get the word out on the product as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before you launch, provide these samples to influencers, industry experts, and groups that are willing to give you unbiased feedback. You can also use this as a focus group. One of our key metrics, also going back to the previous points, were focus groups and gaining mass amount of information with your consumers, but also using this with your free sampling as well. And where you're doing the free sampling and the focus groups, reach outside your network. A lot of times your internal network provides you false data. Your friends and family they tend to always tell you how good you are and how good the product is. You really need to know that negative feedback, and you really need to have a clear understanding of how your consumers are viewing your product and using your products. And then you can also gain testimonials from this.
Well, another way to get feedback is through crowdfunding. What's your take there?
Sure, absolutely. This is a great way to do a beta launch of your product, and also use the platform to pre-sell your product before you manufacture. Your campaigns will give you immediate feedback on the demand for your product, and this can help you pivot with your market launches and things of that nature. Another thing with crowdfunding also to know is that you need to have a clear strategy plan set in place. This is usually a month-long plan of content prepared to engage your crowd for a successful campaign. Because if you don't have an established crowd from the beginning, then it's not going to work regardless. Most crowdfund campaigns fail, and the average raise is $7,000. So this just shows you how crucial it is to have a clear strategy plan for your campaign a month or even 2 months before you plan on launching your campaign.
And what platform are you thinking about using, or what other platforms you think should be considered for that technique?
We like to use any platforms that are non-equity. So, we believe that's benefit crowdfunding, to where you're able to move the product. We've used all of them. So we don't really have a clear campaign that we use. If we have a client that prefers one over the other, we'll do our analysis with their product and with their market and provide suggestions from there, and then also help them and guide them through their campaign.
That makes sense. And obviously you get good feedback out of it, because as Eisenhower once said, no battle plan ever survived first contact with the enemy. So no business plan ever survived first contact with the customer. And so what else can you get out of it?
Yeah, out of the crowdfunding is just going back to data. We pull all kinds of data from this, because at the end of the day, you want to know how your consumers are behaving with your product, or you'll have a failed launch like I did. So we're all about data, and that's what we pull nonstop. But it's always good to test your market and make sure you have a product MVP and test this as well. Don't go to full production without that stage.
What else would you advise startups to do before they go to market?
Going back to the focus groups, get the product in hands of your target market, not just anyone. Make sure that this is your target market. And then listen and watch how these people use your product. You might perceive it being sold a different way than your consumers actually use it. So you need to know exactly how they use it, and then they'll help you pivot to correct content, correct messaging, and then also targeting that consumer that you're looking to get in front of.
Great. Well, in the final few minutes we have here, what else should we talk about that we haven't?
I think we covered it all. That's all from my notes. I know that was kind of off the cuff there.
Sure. So how best for the audience to get back in touch with you? We normally put the website and your LinkedIn profile, but what's the best way for people to contact you?
Yeah, the best is on LinkedIn, Brent Martin. And you can also check out our website. It's InFocusBrands.com.
So we'll put that in the show notes. Appreciate you coming out and sharing your information with us today, and hope to have you back for a follow-up. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Hall.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.